I hope you can see my screen.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, great. We're doing building fabric and structured maintenance. Building fabric and structured maintenance. Structured maintenance. In this course, we'll be able to look at the different elements that make up a building, which are basic things that you already know. It's just for us to give you a little bit of idea of some of the parts you may not know. And we'll just rush through it because the slides are a lot. There's things that you know, so I may not dwell too much on a lot of the things. Where you are reading, you get to get them as you go because they are simple enough. I'll just touch on the major issues that you need to take note of while you're managing a building and when you're looking at a building structure. Now, we'll look at different components of a building. First of all, the different components, you have the foundation, you have walls, you have ceiling, you have roofs, you have floors, you have windows, you have doors. These are the different elements of what you find in a building. And we expect that every building should somewhat have these elements as a part of it. By way of introduction, building maintenance is essential to prolong the building life cycle and reduce companies' loss. It's very important to know that once you maintain a building regularly, you end up prolonging that building life cycle. The building stays for a long time. That's why you could go to the United Kingdom and you see buildings that are over 200 years old still standing. Because of maintenance. Over the years, they have tried as much as possible to ensure that the buildings are in good condition, doing the necessary checks that are required for the building to actually stand and be in good condition. And also, the building material used for such buildings are very good, such that they're able to stand the test of time. And where replacement is required, those replacements are done almost immediately to ensure that the building still retains its integrity. And when reinforcement is required, the building is reinforced adequately to be able to stand as is required. When buildings are neglected, defects can occur, which may result in extensive, unavoidable damage to the building fabric itself or the structure. It's very important that you know that when you abandon a building without being maintained, it's inevitable that damages and defects will occur in that building, and when that occurs, the building loses its form, and then of course you suffer loss, as both the company will suffer loss, the building will suffer loss, and those that are staying there, the inheritance of the building will also suffer loss. So, and they're also exposed to great danger. That's why you have issue of building collapse. Buildings are exposed unnecessarily to a lot of danger, and then requires that level of maintenance. Foundation. Foundation is that part of a structure or any building that transmits the load of the building to the soil. Foundation is that part of the structure that has contact with the soil, that transmits the load of the superstructure down to the soil. Now, a building has two main structures. You have the substructure and the superstructure. The substructure is everything that occurs underneath the soil, the ground level, the natural ground level. Any part of the building, whether basement or whatever foundation that happens underneath the natural ground level is referred to as substructure. Then anything that occurs on top from the ground level up, even if it's up to 250 meters high, or even 250 meters or floors, they are all referred to as superstructure. You have substructure, you have superstructure. And foundation is that part of the building that has contact with the soil. And we have different types of foundation. Broadly, we have four basic type of foundation. We have different types, but this the broad ones that is very common and just straightforward. The other ones are a little bit complicated, a mixed blend of 1, 2, 3 or thereabouts. However, we just constrain ourselves to the 4 basic type of foundation. You have the strip foundation, you have the pad foundation, you have the raft foundation, and you have the pile foundation. Strip foundation is the regular one everybody knows, the traditional kind of foundation. You dig the soil and you pour a little bit of concrete, and then you now set the blocks coming up. Most persons know about this kind of foundation because most traditional buildings are there. And this kind of foundation is used when you are building most of the times, mostly bungalows, and the soil bearing loads, bearing capacity of the soil is a little bit high and good enough to be able to carry the load. That's when you use a strip foundation. You have normal slip, you have the normal strip foundation, you have the deep strip foundation, and you have the wide strip foundation. Also, another type of foundation is what we call the pad foundation. The pad foundation actually is the ones that carry columns. If you by adventure go around the streets, you see street lights. Those street lights, you see these square concrete stuffs that the street light sits on. That square concrete work is called pad foundation. Pads are normally used to carry columns most of the times. That's where the columns stand in buildings. Sometimes you can combine strip foundation and pad foundation. Raft foundation is the next one. Raft foundation is the one where the foundation is used in areas where the load bearing capacity of the soil is not too good. Where the load bearing capacity of the soil is not too good, that's where we use the raft foundation. And for waterlogged areas, swampy areas, this is the foundation you use. Water areas that are prone to flooding, this is the kind of foundation you use. For those that are probably undergone construction in areas like Lekki, you see most of the foundation there is done with raft foundation because of the kind of soil that is around that area. It doesn't have very good load bearing capacity. Then the next one we have is pile foundation. Pile foundation is used where the load bearing capacity of the soil is very bad, or where the load of the building is very much. So the building is most high-rise building, and if you look at the construction of bridges, like probably those have been noticing that this construction going around the Lagos Island axis towards the marina, you see the construction going there. They drill piles into the ground and for even into the sea to go to the bedrock or the more stable soil under the ground, and those piles transmit the load of the building directly to the bottom of the ground. So you don't know what you said. Okay, that's for pile foundation. Those are majorly different form of foundations we have. So as we continue, next one is walls. Now, a wall is a structure that defines an area. It carries a load, or provides shelter or security. Walls in buildings are forms fundamental part of the superstructure, or separate interior rooms for any building that you have. Walls are that part of the building that you could have that provides a little bit of shelter, a little bit of security, and is used to divide spaces, interior spaces, to separate rooms in interior spaces, and it is a major component in the superstructure. Remember, I talked about the substructure and the superstructure. Now we have majorly two types of walls. We have the load-bearing walls and the non-load-bearing walls. Load-bearing walls are the walls that carry load from the roof and the different elements of the building and transmit it to the foundation, which later transmit it to the soil. The walls are either load-bearing walls are either internal or external walls, while non-load-bearing walls carry their own load. Well, transmits their own weight itself. They do not carry the load of the building because most load bearing walls are parting walls that are used. For non-load bearing walls are used where the construction type is done with what we call a frame structure, where you construct the building with just columns and beams, and then you carry the slab. By the time you are done with the column and beams, the frame is standing. You can now start dividing the rooms with walls. Those walls you use to divide the rooms are called non-load bearing walls. Non-load bearing walls. They are just spartan walls that are used to divide the rooms. Now, other types of wall may include, because the wall has different types, as it were, and depend on the purpose of the wall. You have the ones that are called parting wall. The parting wall itself, it separates units within the building and gives good sound insulation and also serves as firewall. That's for parting wall. And most walls are actually need to have a little bit of what we call fire resistance itself. Is able to withstand fire. Most walls, anyway, they are built with a level of fire resistivity, so that they'll be able to resist. So they are able to resist fire from any building. For building, at least most walls should be able to resist fire for at least, if not for too long, for at least 30 minutes or thereabout, which I think is okay. Is that kind of building that can maintain. You don't expect to be inside the burning building for more than 2-3 minutes. As I said, your safety procedures are well aligned. It shouldn't be in a building that is burning for more than 2 minutes anyway. The next one we have firewalls. Firewalls are the ones that are specially built to resist or reduce the spread of fire within the structure within the building. And there's some kind of buildings or some kind of a function of buildings that are susceptible to fire, like bakery or some factory walls. They use firewalls there so that we're able to withstand the heat. And in case there's an explosion, it stops fire from going from one point to the other. The next one we have shear walls. Shear walls are built to withstand forces like severe wind or earthquake. Most shear walls are found in high-rise building because of the wind effect that probably will happen on high-rise buildings. So you always have a little bit of shear walls in high-rise buildings to be able to withstand the shock, the movements that may come from heavy wind that may be on the building. We have movable partition walls that are probably made of wood or any component that can easily be moved around. They are not usually load-bearing walls. They are just used to separate rooms. We have curtain walls or building facade, mostly used for offices, office structure or high-rise structure, hotels or commercial buildings generally. That's where you have curtain walls. It's becoming increasingly popular around here in Nigeria, where you have a lot of office blocks that have curtain walls. Types of wall finish. We have stained glass. Stained glass is a kind of wall finish, especially if you go to churches or mosques, they have stained glass there a lot. So, or probably museums or some very old buildings, they have stained glass there that depict some or try to beautify the space. We have pebble finish walls. These are when you use small pebbles to put on the wall just to finish it up to make it look nice and fine. We have the regular plastered cement finish, like the one Everybody know after you set up the wall, you just plaster with mortar. Uh, it's a very popular one around here, so we know that. Then we have the marble finish wall. This is where you use marble for the wall itself to finish it so it looks good. We have POP finish wall. This is where you have use POP to finish the wall and then do some decoration things on the wall. You also have tile cladding wall. This is where you use tiles. You now probably clad it either internally or externally. You can either use marble, you can use granite, you can use glaze or vitrified tiles. I use any form of tiles to clad the walls. Popular area where you use tiles for the walls are in toilets, bathrooms, and sometimes in the front and the facade of the building. Types of wall materials. You have the regular bricks, you have the mortar, you have the plaster, depending on the one and the use that it's been designed for. Those are the type of plaster materials that we have. We also have tiles, which is used in bathroom and toilets. We also have wood cladding. It's used for decorative purposes and also for sound ventilation. You also have the use of wallpaper as a form of finish for walls. External wall materials, you have the metal cladding, which is the local bond that a lot of us know. We also have the stone cladding, which a lot of us also know. Cut stones that they used to clad wall. We also now have plastic cladding. Some people use plastic claddings for the walls also, just to make them a little bit of just make it look nice and fine. Just the cladding is just a material that is put over another layer just to give thermal insulation from weather or resistance, or to improve the appearance of the building itself. Function of a wall. Functions of the wall. The wall has several functions. One of the functions is to provide protection from the weather, whether rain or sun or whatever kind of weather, from snow. The walls have to give a little bit of protection from the weather. And also proper demarcation of any given space. Also gives a barrier to sound and sound dissolutions. Separate spaces in the interior. Also gives strength and stability to the building. Reduces spread of fire from building. Separated building spaces and other from other buildings. Also gives a little bit of thermal insulation and provides security. Wall maintenance plan. First, thoroughly inspect wall. Now, normally when you get into your facility, we expect that you should always do a tour at least 2 or 3 times in a week. First of the kind, you must do it on on a Monday when you know you're probably just resuming for the week. After the weekend, you probably go through the walls, look at it critically. You look out for moist. You look out for capillary rise, water rising from the foundation or from the ground on the wall. You also look out for cracks. There are different types of building cracks, wall cracks. You have the surface cracks, you have the artificial cracks, which is a plaster crack, and you have the structural crack. The structural crack is the most dangerous that you should be afraid of. Plaster crack is not a problem. Plaster crack normally comes when the quality of plaster sand that is used for the building is not good enough. Once it's done, after a while, for some years, it will start cracking and probably falling off. That when you have that kind of problem, you just attack the areas that are affected. You scrape it out and then replaster and paint, and then you'll be fine. For the artificial cracks are things that may happen due to building settlement, and also where you do not have expansion joint. When building settles, sometimes it causes the building to just crack in itself. But when you have structural crack happens when there is serious building movement and probably the foundation of one side of the building is failing. Now, when to observe that, once you see the crack on the wall, you will discover that the crack will keep expanding. And once the crack keeps expanding, it means that that part of the building is about to go down. and that's very dangerous for you as a facility manager. Immediately you notice that, you must um, inform the building owners or the property owners so that adequate action will be taken to protect the building or to save the lives and property in the building. Check wall for movements. I've talked about that. Check for settlements, building settlement. I've talked about that. Correct any settling issues and proper maintenance of landscape surfaces around the wall. Normally, you have horticulture, grasses that are planted, flowers that are planted around walls. You must always clear them properly so that it doesn't affect um, the wall, as it were, so that the walls can still be of good integrity. Wall maintenance, that sometimes you have problem with paint. When you have flaking paint, you have chalking paint. Flaking paint sometimes occur when uh, for when the paint has been there for too long, when the elements of weather affected the paint. The paint, once rainy season comes and dry season, it expands and contracts, expands, and after a while it will start flaking and coming out. While chalking sometimes, because of the salty nature of some areas where you have salt or acid rain, what we call acid rain, once it affects the wall, sometimes it affects the paint and it begins to chalk. However, sometimes chalking of paint may just be a supply when you use bad paint, not a good quality paint for the wall, it will chalk. After painting for a while, you once you just touch your wall, it starts staining you, it chalks. And once that happens, for either of the two, you scrape out the areas that are affected and you need to correct it, and you scrape, repair the surface, and then repaint, and then you'll be fine. When you have mold on walls, normally once you have mold on wall, it means that there's form of leakage in that wall. Once there's leakage in that wall, you normally will just find out the cause of the leakage and then try to stop it up. When you stop that leakage from the wall, probably there's a corroded pipe or a leaking pipe or somehow, or a blocked floor drain or blocked roof gutter, or the AC condensate pipes within the wall is blocked, so it's not sending water out and it's just busted and started affecting the walls. You first of all solve that problem. After you have solved the problem, you allow and wait for the wall to dry out. Once it dries out, you probably just scrape all the mods that probably have been there on the wall, and apply a little bit of undercoat so that the wall still looks nice before you now repaint. Before you now actually repaint. Then fixing corroding, and sometimes you may have issue where you have galvanized pipes in between the wall, and sometimes these galvanized pipes, if it reacts with salt or salt on the moisture or salt in the water, it corrodes, and once it corrodes, it affects the pipe and the pipe begins to leak inside the walls. And sometimes if you're in areas where you are prone to so much salt, the salt still also affects the walls, affect the paints on the wall. So when that happens, you probably just need to just scrape the area of the wall, allow the wall dry out. Once it's dry out, you apply undercoat and then repaint. And if it's an issue where you have leakage in the wall, fill up stop the leakage, and then fill that area up and then repaint. Then when you have issues where the sealant is getting weak in the joints, pipes, they have joints, and those joints in those pipes sometimes they fail if it's not properly done. You probably need to look for where those areas are and then seal it up properly so it doesn't leak. Then sometimes you may have sealant that are put around windows or doors that also fail. Look for those areas, uh, scrape the existing seal, reseal it up, close it up, make it you are sure that the leakage has stopped. Then you can go ahead and paint. Ceilings. Types of ceilings, we have acoustic ceilings, which is good for sound attenuation. We have drywall ceilings, which is done with drywall gypsum board. You have suspended ceilings, you have cathedral ceilings, Suspended ceilings are the regular ones you see in offices. Cathedral ceilings are the ones that are found in cathedrals, in churches, or thereabouts. So we have roof, types of roof. We have flat roof, I will have hip roof. Um, they come in different categories. Now, this slide just helps you to give you a broader knowledge of the different kind of hip roof that you may have, and flat roof, which is just simple, it's just flat. You have the mono or the shield, you have the hip, and you have the gable, and then which are the popular ones, and then the other ones that's a combination of different kind of functions of factors for selecting ceiling finish. One, sometimes the type of floor finish, the type of floor that is in that area will determine the kind of ceiling that you probably use. Then the lifestyle of the owner or the property owner determines the lifestyle, the ceilings that are used. Then durability. For some persons, durability, they don't care. They like to get something that is durable, will determine the ceiling. Then sometimes you look at the fire resistivity or the fire resistance of the ceiling material. Sometimes some people look at the appearance of the ceiling finish itself. Some look at the function of the building. Is it a commercial building? If it's a commercial building, most commercial buildings use suspended ceilings. And then if it's also, some people look at the safety of the occupant to determine the kind of building ceiling that they use for their building. Factors for selecting roof finish. Of course, the roof. Sometimes look at how strong the finish is, the type of roof you are looking. Look at its ability to transmit light. That's for factories where they have translucent roofs. And then you look at the cost and how attractive it is. And you also look at the load of the roof. Sometimes when you look at the building and look at the heaviness of the roof, you'll be able to know exactly what you can use for such areas. Types of roof finish. We have the plastic roof sheet, roofing sheet. We know that one. You have the corrugated galvanized steel. We know that. And we have um, the fiberglass sheets, which are also popular. The polycarbonate sheets and the Madrid tiles. The tiles those ones are used outside the country a lot. Ceiling materials, you have the wood wooden boards commonly used for general structure of the building. We also have the plaster. We have the plaster boards. We have the wood panels or planks. You have stencil. You have metal ceiling tiles, which are very easy to install, especially after the grids have been done. Roof material, we have the asphalt roof, commonly used for roofs in residential buildings. You also have the wood stake. This wood stake are wood, small wood panels that are stuck together, like what you see in one of the pictures here. They have angle and they are stacked. You also now have metal roof, which consists of your zinc, the aluminium, or iron roof itself. Ceiling repair. Sometimes when you have leakage in the ceiling or within the building, sometimes it shows up in the ceiling. Water leakage is a major source of ceiling damage. Identify and stop the source of leakage. That's very important. For anytime you have any form of leakage in the building, you must identify that leakage and then you stop it. And it's very important to note that. Then dry the area above and below the ceiling. Remove the part of the ceiling that have been damaged. Scrape away any part of the ceiling that is losing out. Then also leave ceiling if it's still flat and smooth. Replace the entire ceilings if the plaster separates from the wood lats or from the noggins. Also use sandpaper to smoothen over the ridge between the good and the affected areas. Apply primer and paint and primer and then paint if there are any visible stains on the wall or on the ceiling. For roof damage, is usually as a result of storm or heavy downpour. Assess the extent of damage of the roof, and then check if there's any leakage. Once there's leakage, you sort out the leakage. If there's any hole that needs to be repaired, is repaired immediately, when the um, especially when the holes are very large. Remove roof materials down to check for all the damage, and depending on how bad it is, replace the damaged ones. Prevent additional water damage by ensuring that roof is properly tiled or properly covered, and then ensure that roof gutters are free of depth. For buildings that have roof gutters, they are always very notorious because most of the times people do not maintain the roof gutters because it's high up there. They don't have time to go until there is leakage. When the roof gutter is blocked and then water is now returning into the building, it becomes a very, very serious problem. So, but in order to prevent that from happening, as a facility manager, you must put amongst your schedule a schedule for the cleaning of the roof gutter. Every roof gutter must have an access, so you can always clean. Allow for free. So when you do this cleaning, you will allow for free flow of rainwater, especially when it rains. Floor. We have different types of floor. We have laminate floor. We have tiles floor. Laminate, there are some kind of wood that are done and then they are laminated. It shines, and then you install it for the floor as floor finish. You also have the hardwood. That's when you have some people call it tongue and groove. Hardwood, you just install it properly and then you polish, and it's used. It's normally aesthetically pleasing, normally nice. But people don't like it these days. They probably prefer to use tiles. You have carpets or rug that normally is easy to depend on the type that you want to use. You also have the ceramic tiles or the victified tiles. It's normally water resistance. Um, when the grouts are not properly done, it's difficult to clean the grouted lines. Or when it's properly done, it's easy to clean. Uh, if you use low quality tiles, it's normally will chip off at the end. Then also marble floor or marble, granite floors. They are the most durable types of tiles or floors used for also for walls and for columns too, especially easy to clean, and you can always polish it. That's why it's durable. You can always polish uh, those floor structure. You have the suspended floors, especially for server rooms. You have suspended floor on server rooms to allow cables and other things go under the suspended areas. You have the solid floor, which is normally the one everybody knows. Solid concrete floor, which is what everybody knows. Special floor structure. You have raised floor, you have balcony, you have glass floor, you have this sprung floor that is used for indoor dancing or indoor games like basketball. The floors in basketball courts or hockey or thereabout, just 14 areas. Floor coverings, soft flooring. You have the warm and difficult, but difficult to maintain, which is those ones are the soft. Majorly two of them. You have the rug or carpet, which of course we know they're soft, but maintenance is very difficult. Sometimes if you want to clean your rug, you need to take everything out and wash. And if you're washing in place, it normally by the time you do the finish washing, it will maybe smelling. Resilient floors are durable and easy to maintain, made of rubber, sometimes of vinyl, sometimes of epoxy or different types of stuff that you may have. You have the hard wall. Hard walls are normally durable. They're also expensive, but they're easy to maintain. Examples are concrete finish walls. You have ceramic tiles. You have victified tiles. You have granite tiles. You have marble tiles. You also have bricks. Bricks can also be used, and you also have terrazzo. Terrazzo. A lot of buildings don't use terrazzo like they used to do in those days. Personally, I used to love terrazzo a lot. Um, But tiles is very nice, easy to maintain, especially when it's maintained properly. It will just keep shining and look good all through the period where it's been installed. Floor problems. When you use wooden floors, sometimes the wood panels may move, especially when the joints are failing, and then or sometimes the joints may be rubbing on each other, making noise. When people are moving, or sometimes when you use screw for those floors, the screw may be losing out, so it will be making noise, just making some very annoying noise and losing balance. When you have that kind of issue, you just look for where the problem is, screw it down properly, check for this where the spaces are, join them properly, and apply the gums that are required to be used at those areas, and then to reduce for floor vibrating. That sometimes that some floors vibrate when it's not properly done, especially when you use tiles, and the tiles when it's not properly installed. After a while, the tiles may start floating. Some of them may float, and you'll be having this hollow sound out under the tiles. When you're walking, you'll be feeling that movement and that sound, and the tiles are vibrating. When that kind of thing happen, you may need to take that tile out and reinstall to avoid any issue. Floorboards having gaps, usually caused by moisture. Floor, when the floor is very moist, when it was installed, by the time it's drying out, it creates a void in. And sometimes when you have wooden board cracks or on the floor, or when it's separated, when you have cracks in floors, it may be caused by the weather. Once the in and out, the hot and cold weather, the transition sometimes cracks the floor. And when you do not install um, expansion joints in floors for very for very wide areas, it also causes that problem. And you may be able to solve that by just introducing the expansion joint. Cleaning, floor cleaning. The cleaning methods for floors depends on the type of floor. Wooden floor, I don't spend too much time on this one. You already know what to do. Probably just sweep all the dirt out and then use your mop to mop the floor. Maybe use a dry mop, not too wet, so you don't have the wood soaking water, especially when it's losing the polish that probably you'd have put on it. Then you have the tiles and the stones. That's very easy to clean. Remove all the dust, dirt, and sweep a broom or vacuum clean, and then spray the appropriate cleaning solution, scrub or mop. Clean floor schedule. This is not cast in stone, depending on the facility that you're handling and the regularity of what you are supposed to do. So sometimes you may just daily look at dusting and sweeping or mopping. Once a week, look at vacuum cleaning the whole floor. Monthly, you can probably look at polishing. Some persons do not polish monthly, they polish quarterly. Quarterly, you do deep cleaning and polishing as it were. Look at windows. Okay, before we go into windows, we'll take a break now, and then we'll come back by 6 and do windows and doors, which are the two last elements for us to treat, and then we'll take our questions. We'll just go on a break now. I hope it's fine with all of us. So we'll be back by 6 o'clock.
We are fine.
Okay, guys.
Very fine.
Hello.
Break.
Okay, we've not started yet, right? Because I can't hear anything.
Break.
Hello. It's 6 o'clock.
Hello, good evening. Is the class still on?
Class is still on. We're on break.
We're supposed to start now. It's 6 o'clock already.
Okay, thanks. God bless you.
Bless you too.
Okay, can we start?
Yes.
Yes, we've been waiting for you.
Oh, I was here. I was just waiting for everybody to come back. Anyway,
We
Okay.
can start.
Yes.
okay, we'll go with windows now. Now we have different types of windows. We have the fixed windows. Fixed windows are the ones that just have it's mainly for light, just to send in light. It's not openable. They're normally just fixed. You cannot open them. It's just for them to allow light in. You have the tinted and the torn window. Tinted is when, the tint and torn window is the ones that are built in such a way that it can be tilt inside at the top and opens inside from the hinge. You have the casement windows. The casement windows swings in or out like a door. That's casement window. You have the roof lanterns, the ones that are put on the roof just to throw in light top. You have the skylight also. The skylight also chosen from the top. They're normally put in flat slopes. They are put in 5 slopes, sometimes around the roof areas, while the other one, the roof lanterns, are the ones that are put on the wall where you have attic floors or active rooms. Window coverings. Apart from the ones that we have mentioned, we also have what we call sliding windows, which you're already aware of. We have the pivot windows. We have the louver blades. And those are also part of windows. Window coverings you can also apply film to the window to shade it off, to reduce the solar gain into the area, the ultraviolet ray of light. You have the solar shades, provision of solar shades, provide excellent insulation and also energy performance. You have the drippers or curtains, as it were. The very large curtains are drippers. You have the interior louver shutters as also coverings for windows. External coverings, you have louver shutters also, or roller shutters, depending on the type you want. Those ones are normally used for storefronts or store areas for security purposes, especially at night. They can just roll down the roller shutters for protection. And those are the few things that you have, especially for external windows, depending on the kind of roller shutters you use. Window glazing, spectrally selective coating. There are some spectrally selected coating that are put to tint the glass and glaze the glass so that it reduces heat from coming in and also reduces solar from coming in. You have the reflective coats. The reflective ones are the ones that during sunlight, it reflects the light back. It will be looking like a mirror when you're looking at it from outside, but inside you'll be able to see through. From outside, once there's light, you are not able to see through. You have the gas-filled windows. Those gas fields are normally used for areas where you require a little bit of soundproofing, or when you have a very high wind pressure. In high-rise buildings, most of the windows are soundproof and they are filled with gas. You have a cavity inside the window. You have double glazed window that you have cavity inside. It normally helps with a little of sound. If you have ever gone into an aircraft and looked from the window in that aircraft, you discover it has 2 panels, one inside and one outside. Inside that void where you have the 2 glass, you have gas inside. It also helps to reduce thermal effect and also controls a little bit of sound. Window frames. You have composite frames, you have vinyl frames, you have aluminum frames, you have fiberglass frames for windows. We also have types of wooden materials. Window materials. You have wooden windows. Hardwood is quite expensive. Very good ones, very expensive because they are scarce. Also have aluminum material also being used. You also have vinyl, depending on the type that you want. For window maintenance, use weather strippers like the ones you see in this picture to reduce air and water infiltration, especially when you're cleaning the windows. Regularly inspect the windows, interior and exterior. Check window hardwares like locks and opening mechanism. Any exposure, hardware must be tightened securely. Always inspect the exterior around the window frame, especially around the edges, to ensure that you don't have those areas broken and water coming into the building. Check windows for smooth operation, clean dirt and dust and sand from window seals, tracks, and hinges. Timber frame. Where you have timber frame as your window, though we don't have this as regular as we used to have it in those days, where you have timber windows, and you use that on you use the timber with louver blades, or use it with even wooden louvers. Normally, you cut off the area that is rot, because sometimes it affects water affects the timber. It soaks water and begins to get rotten. Got the part that is rot, filled with putty, and also put a new wooden hardwood there and paint over it. If the area is large, cut it away, cut the damaged part apart, and then treat the remaining parts and apply primer and undercoat. Window sill can be repaired by cutting off the rotten part, planting in the new piece of seasoned wood, and then you'll be able to paint and treat very well. Formation of condensation inside seals or cavity. This is when you have double walls. You have, like I tried to explain, the double glazing. Sometimes you have condensation inside that cavity. You just need to take out the window sill. Then normally it comes to the seal, take out the window sill and the glazed unit, and or replace the whole window when it's become difficult for that to happen. When you have damage on the window caused by rain entering through the gaps around the window, that one is very simple. There's what we call glazing rubber that's always around windows. Check for the glazing rubber. If it's not positioned properly, position it well. Improve the ventilation to remove air moisture within the area. Seal up gaps where there are leakages and where water is coming in. Like I've said, install plastic closures. Those plastic closures are actually rubber. We call it glazing rubber, that is put around the windows. The windows should be jot and proofed. Normally, you just need to jot it. You take water out of the window and every form of moisture and make it proof. Metal windows corroded. When you have metal windows that probably the paint or something is peeling off and then it's corroded and it's getting rust, normally what you wire brush the metal part of it, and then you apply your anti-rust first before you paint over it, or if it's very bad, you probably may need to replace it. Defective lintel. Especially when you have wooden lintels, these days you will use more of concrete lintels for windows. If it's a wooden lintel, once the wooden lintel is bad, you probably will need to take it out and replace it and give it a new one. That's what you have for windows. Then for doors, majorly, there are different types of doors, and doors are of different types, and the classification of the types of doors depend on the classification is on 4 different things. One, it looks at the component of the door. They name the door based on the component. 2, they also name the door based on the construction material, what is used to build the door. Another one is the working operation of the door. You will see it as we go through, and also the construction material used for the door. 4 ways of naming that. The 4 classifications of doors: by the placement of the components, that's one; method of construction, working operation of the door, and the construction material being used. Now you have the types of doors, the different components. The first one, the batten and ledge door. The batten and ledge door, like the picture you have seen here, you have the battens running vertically and the ledge running horizontally. These are like the old doors that we normally have in our villages, in our village houses in those days, but things are getting better anyway these days. We don't use most of this kind of doors, especially you probably find them in garden houses or thereabouts. Then the next one, you have the batten, ledge, and brace. The batten are the vertical ones, the ledge is the horizontal one, and the brace is the the diagonal ones that crosses it like a Z. The next one, you have the batten, ledge, and frame door. Of course, the battens are the vertical ones, the ledge is the horizontal one, and the frame is the frame around the door itself, as it's made of frame. Then you have batten, ledge, brace, and frame door. This is when you have everything together. You have the frame around the door, you have the batten that is horizontal, you have the ledge, and then you have the brace, which is the diagonal one. All the labels are there for you to see and know. Then for the ones that are based on the type of material of construction, you have the frame and panel. The frame around and the panel, each of these are panel doors. You will probably know panel doors these days. You just see the way it is. And you have the glazed door when it's made of glass, aluminum glazed door. You also have the louvered door that is all louvered. You have the flush door, majorly for offices, popular doors, and then you have the hollow core cellular door, like what we see here. You also have the wired gate door. This ones are normally used for garden or garages, depending on the places you want to use them. Doors that are based on the working operation, you have the revolving door. It goes round. You have the sliding door, the popular one that we know. You have the swing door. You either have single swing or double swing, and you have the collapsible steel door, like the old ones are using at several old houses also. You don't see these ones as popular again. We also have the roller shutters that's normally used for garages, storefronts, and the rest of them. Usually made of steel. And doors based on the material that is being used. Mild steel sheet door. The material is made of mild steel. Corrugated steel sheet door. The material is made of steel but it's corrugated. You also have the hollow metal doors where you have holes in between the metal, the door. And you also have the metal covering plywood door. When the main inside the door is plywood, but the outer cover is made of metal. Other broad types of doors that we have the French door, just be very big opening. I also have the aluminum doors, majorly look for external works, external doors, and different components of the door. You have the door stopper. The door stopper stops the door when the door opens, for preventing it from hitting the wall or getting too close to the wall beside it, and also protect the hinge. You also have what we call the lintel. The lintels are always above the door. Lintels are always above the door. The diagram on this on the side here will show more about the labeling. Just go through labeling. The seal is at the bottom. The lintel is at the top. Acrylics are normally at the face of the door, the face of the wall, just around the frame. The outer part, outline of the frame is where you have the architraves. The seal is found at the bottom of the door. Most external doors, you see this metal steel plates that are found there. Then the next one you have the door repairs in case you have door problems or maintenance when you're repairing door not closing properly. Check that the door is not swollen as a result of very high humidity. Lift the door handle when trying to close the door, just to check, and check if it is hard and easy. It means the hinges may be loose and not properly hinged. That means if the door hinges as loose, you probably need to tighten it properly. Door rubs or sticks on the frame. This may be as a result of high humidity in areas where you probably sometimes when you travel during Harmattan, when the Harmattan is very severe, the door normally will just go out of alignment, and sometimes the door does not lock, or sometimes the door makes a lot of noise when it wants to lock. Those are part of the common problems you find in doors. And then when the door does not latch properly, probably maybe due to the fact that the wrong installation of the frame is losing alignment, you may need to realign the frame and ensure that it's properly done. You may probably need to, sometimes when you put strike plates on the door, it may probably not align properly. You may need to adjust that strike plate or take it out completely. Cold air coming in the door, in air around the door. That's when there are so much gaps around the door, and you feel that, especially for very cold weathers, where you probably want the door sometimes to be properly locked to have a little warmth inside your space. Then you probably have a little bit of that problem. You may need to now seal those gaps properly with the required and major glazing rubber. Then flush bolts are normally found on the side of the door, especially for double doors, the ones that lock up and down directly. If the flush bolt is not entering well, sometimes the screw may have been losing out. You screw it properly, or probably the bolt itself may be defective. You just check the bolt and ensure that it's properly done, or oil it. Door frames. Inspect the door frames regularly. Repair if there are any defects, or repaint it where it's required. Glass lights. Check regularly for cracks and missing glaze pieces. Sometimes when you have see-through glass on doors, sometimes the screws and all that are used to screw them may fall off and may be shaken, or sometimes it may just crack or it's broken. Once that happens, you replace it. Uh, Door maintenance checklist. These checklists you can read by yourself. Check all the locks and openings mechanism of the door. Check if the door is operating smoothly. Check if the screws are fastening, they're tightly secured. Check the door hinges and tracks for sand or dirt. Check if the screws are secured, fastened in the screen combination. Also look at the trim off of every in case the door is loose, and check for gaps. Check if weather strips is still effective. Those are the things that you probably check in the doors. You have a list and you can always look at that. Oh, okay, that's the end of this slide. Thank you very much. So I'll take our questions now. If you have any question, you can begin to ask, and then we'll go through it together. I can see Emmanuel, your hand is up. So let's take your question, Emmanuel. You can unmute yourself now.
Yeah. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Please, I'm sorry to take you back. Please, can you do more on the explanation of the foundations, as in the way we started from? So sorry about that. The foundations we have different for. So sorry, please. I'm trying to get the reading here, but I think it's not explanatory. Please.
Okay. Let me try and do that quickly. I said we have 4 types of foundation. We have the strip foundation. We have the raft foundation. We have the pad foundation, and we have the pile foundation. I hope you got that, Emmanuel.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The strip foundation is a regular type of foundation that we have, where you dig the ground, pour a little of concrete, and then you build the wall coming up with block wall. That's the regular one. Pad foundation is the normally done underneath, where you have columns. An example of those is all those concrete stuff you see in street lights. Those square concrete stuff you see on street lights, where you screw the street light stands to, where you mount the street lights. I hope you have seen it. Yes, those things are called pad.
On Third Mainland Bridge.
Is it correct? You have some on Third Mainland, but it's more popular on regular streets, where you have those street lights on the road. You just see the concrete blocks. You just see them. Anyway, if you have not taken note of it, when you go out again today or tomorrow, just take note, you will see it, and you now know that that's what I'm talking about. Raft foundation is the one that you do, especially in swampy areas, where they will cast the foundation round with reinforced concrete. You put reinforcement and cast it around before you now fill. You fill it with imported sand, fill it, and then before you do the German floor. That's for raft foundation. While pile foundation is the one that you drill into the ground. You drill into the ground and you pour concrete down into the ground and put reinforcement for all the piles to go down before you now start casting what we call the pile cap, and then the building start coming up. I hope that's explanatory for you.
Very, very.
Okay.
Very.
Okay, I can see our fees. So let's take your question on fees.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. You may need to talk louder.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Sir, this is quite an interesting topic that we have learned today. Maybe because we see it's something we encounter almost on daily basis or frequently.
Yeah.
But I have, while going through the lectures, I have something I've not really, I can't really place a description to it. How does roof gutter looks like? And then how does suspended floor looks like? I know
Okay.
suspended slip, but I don't know suspended floor. How does those
Suspended.
look like, sir?
Okay. Let me just explain. Suspended floor is when you put a frame on top of the main floor and put the floor on top. You know, if you have been to church or probably you have been to what's it called? Event centers.
Okay.
Are you there with me? The stage
Yes,
for
I'm here.
the stage for event center.
Okay.
Those stages, those suspension is called a suspended floor.
Oh, okay. I get it.
Anything that is suspended from the normal ground is suspended, is a suspended floor.
Oh,
Then
okay.
in server
Roof
rooms
gutter.
and all that.
Roof
Server
gutter.
rooms, you have roof gutter. Roof gutter. If you go roof gutter, you may likely not see it like that from the outside. But most roof, when you go on top, you will see it's a collection. It's like a gutter that collects the water that is coming down. Sometimes you see this in new buildings now. You see they put one white strip around like a PVC or a plastic white material that goes around the roof area where you have the roof line. And then that point, when rain falls, the water collects into those overhangs, and then it goes down to a pipe, goes to the ground. Those are roof gutters. Those are very small roof gutters. We have very large ones for big areas where it's casted with concrete, and you have down pipes going down.
Okay. All right, sir. It's clear now, sir.
Okay, great. Let's hear Joshua.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Thank you very much for the class, sir. Sir, please, I need explanation, more explanation on DPC or DPM, like you
Okay.
explained on the foundation. What is the material that can be used for as DPC, or if DPC is a material on itself, then the purpose of it and the position of it in the foundation or on the floor. So,
Okay, very great. DPC or DPM. DPC is damp-proof course. DPM is damp-proof membrane. They mean the same thing, just change it, just use of language. Now, for the DPC or DPM, normally it's placed before you do the German floor. There's a material that is called DPC or DPM. If you go to the market when you're about to do a validation, just tell them you want to buy DPC or DPM. Some materials are like nylons like this, but they are thick, very thick. They normally spread before you do your casting. But some people use nylons, very thick nylons for it, but it's not exactly nylon. It's called a DPC. That's the material gongo. It comes in either black, colorless, blue, any color, but it just spreads over the blinding. There's what we call blending. Once you do the blinding of the foundation before you do the German floor, that's where you put your DPC or DPM. Okay, I hope I've answered your question. So let's hear from Julian. Julian, your question. You can unmute yourself.
Can you hear me, sir?
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay, sir. Thank you for the class. First of all, I want to ask you mentioned something about sound insulation. Is it the same thing as soundproof?
Yes, soundproof, sound insulation, okay. They're about the same thing. Sound attenuation, soundproofing, sound insulation is about the same thing. It just reduces sound from one space to the other. Yes.
Okay, I wanted to know what type of wall can be used for that sound insulation.
So regular block wall is it has a little bit of sound insulation. Each wall has a rating. Partition walls, they have sound insulation. There are some times that if you want to get a better insulation, you clad the walls, especially if you go to studios, music studios, their walls itself are normally soundproof so that it absorbs, they put materials there so it absorbs the sound so it doesn't go out.
Okay.
Yes, so those materials are used just enhance it, but every wall has basic sound insulation. It's just the one that just the rating that you want. If you want more, probably you need to clad the wall. Use this foam. There's this. We use we either use rock wool or use foams to do that. This styrofoam material put at the background first before you cover it up. All of them you use wood. Wood also is a very sound insulating material. If you have wood cladding, it absorbs sounds a lot. It doesn't allow the sound travel.
All right, sir. Okay, I have another question.
Yes, please.
I
go
wanted
ahead.
to ask about what determines the type of, like, when you are doing when you are building, what determines the type of foundation that you will do, or the type of door or windows that you use for such a building?
Okay. First of all, let me start with foundation. What determines the foundation that you use for the building is actually the type of soil that you have in the place that you want to build. One, that's the major one. Two, the type of building itself also determines the foundation. If it's a high-rise building, a building maybe a skyscraper, you know that you cannot use strip foundation, you cannot use raft foundation, you must pile because of the weight of the structure. But for
Okay.
regular building, maybe a story building, a bungalow, it is the soil gone there that they will test the soil. Normally, we do a soil test. It will tell you the load bearing capacity of the soil, and you calculate. The engineers know how to calculate the load of the building and say, okay, this soil is okay. We can do a strip foundation. If they calculate and discover that you can't do a strip foundation, you need to do a raft foundation, which is becoming very, very popular now because of the main areas that have good soil around in Lagos have been built on. Areas are not as good as it used to be. So raft foundation is almost a given for most construction in Lagos State, especially because most people build minimum. I don't think a lot of people build bungalows again. You have minimum of story buildings or two-story buildings, which goes on. But basically, is the foundation, is the soil that determines the foundation. Now, for doors and windows, that is also determined by the type of building and the design itself, what you want to
Okay.
achieve. Because those ones are actually cosmetics. It's not doing is as much as it's functional in terms of its functionality. Door function is to give access. The type of door that you use is the type of space. If you have a very large hall, you probably need to use double doors, wider doors
Okay.
and bigger doors to be able to take people out more. Your regular doors in your house is just the space. The toilet door is normally smaller than the room door. The room door is normally 900. And that 900 is to give right so that you can be able to move furniture in and out the
Yeah.
room. These are already sized. Those are normal standards which you use for the door. However, the type of door itself is determined by the function of the space and probably the design of that space. Same goes for the window.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. I sorry, I may ask another thing.
Please go
I
ahead.
wanted to know, if you are to advise, what would you say is the best foundation, as in best standard foundation that anybody can use in any place? Yes.
Okay. In that scenario, I cannot give. There's no best kind of foundation.
Okay.
It is the soil. By the time you do
That
the soil test,
determines.
that will
Okay.
determine the best foundation to be used for that soil.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
All right, madam. Let me see. Who is this? Oluwayowa. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Oga.
Yeah, I wanted to just find out about the roof gutter. What's the best way to clean up your roof gutter when it's blocked or when you want to maintain it?
Well, roof gutter is just like when you're cleaning your normal gutter. You just go up there and get your normal cleaning materials. Sometimes, if it's not very bad, you can just use broom to sweep or brush to brush through it and sweep it to get out the dirt, and then you use the pressured hose to flush it out. Once you use water pressure hose to flush it, it will just flush out. Roof gutters, except when it's left for a long time, that's when it becomes a problem. But now you clean it regularly, you don't need to do anything much, because what causes the dirt in the roof gutters are leaves from trees that are close by, or flying objects like nylons that are flying up and down, and then sometimes dust that may come from dust that may come, as it were, from anywhere, from the roof, or during when it's raining. And when the water is not flowing, after a while it will settle there and begin to cake, probably form something like mud. And if it's left there for too much, it will probably now solidify. And when it rains, you'll not be able to percolate water through it. So it's just for you to clean regularly and ensure that the pipes, the down pipes, the drain pipes itself are through enough to be able to collect. And the drain pipes should be large enough to be able to carry the water that is on that roof gutter. So you must get an engineer to design the runoff from the rainwater, and so they'll be able to design the adequate pipes that will require to move the water down.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Okay, Abayomi, I'll take your question now. You can unmute yourself, Abayomi.
Yeah, hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sir, I want to ask this question based on your experience in the field, sir.
Yes,
the use of a curtain wall,
yes,
as compared to having the normal wall that is being painted on the external surface, which do you think is better in terms of life cycle cost? Because I've seen, for instance, in the University of Lagos now, there is this GT Bank building coming up on the main campus, and we're having curtain wall instead of going for the normal wall that is going to be painted. So is it that there's so much cost savings when you have a curtain wall instead of the normal wall that you need to be painting often and often?
Not necessarily. There's no well, in the long run, you have a little bit of cost savings, because there are two things that I want to presume curtain wall actually is made of glass. Abayomi, are you with me?
Yes, glass.
It's made of glass. There's another one that is called aluco-bond cladding.
Okay.
That's also different. Sometimes they install it alongside with the curtain wall, so you may not exactly know the difference. But for glass, you don't need to paint glass. You just need to just have to clean it from time to time. Initial installation cost is high. Long term, you won't need to paint, so it will save you that cost of painting regularly. Also, most of the times, people do it for not just for the maintenance costs. They also do it for aesthetics.
Aesthetics.
Yes, for aesthetics and the feel, which is also good. And it gives you also for banking hall. Banks, they also it's initial expense. They all want to show that they have money and their billing is imposing, so you can bring your money in. Yeah, this bank, they have money, my money. It's an impression they give, so that's why they do that. But apart from that, it's just a kind of wall anyway, just a decision that you need to take, and needs to just be treated the way it should be treated.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, I can see Joshua. Okay, your hands is out. Let's take you, Joshua. I was just going to attend to what you wrote on your text.
Okay, so I just thought to ask it in person. Okay, why I asked that question is, okay, is it okay to do like a raft? Because when you were explaining, you said raft and pile foundations are for like these skyscrapers, and they are mostly used for loose floors or loose ground, something like that. So
yes,
is it advisable to use, okay, I have the money, I want to build a bungalow, and I decide to do a raft foundation or a pipe foundation for a bungalow because I just choose to spend. Is it advisable, or is there something like
let me put it this way. First of all, you can actually pile or do raft foundation for a bungalow. What determines the foundation type? Are you with me, Joshua? Hello, can you hear me, Joshua?
Yes, I'm with you. I'm with you.
What determines the the foundation type is actually the load-bearing capacity of the soil. So you are expected to do soil test. If the soil test tells you that, oh, this soil is very loose, it may not be, the minimum requirement in terms of foundation is a rough foundation that you can put there. Whether it's a bungalow you are building or anything you are building, you have to do that rough foundation, because if you do any other foundation, it will fail, it will sink, or it will lose its structural integrity. At the end of the day, the building you are building will not have anything that it has to do. And if the soil is saying that the requirement that you need is a strip foundation, why are you going to do pile? It's not necessary, especially when the soil is good enough to carry it. You don't need to spend that money. Because if you are doing pile, you are actually just wasting money, except you have a long-term plan to say, okay, I'm building a bungalow now. Tomorrow I may move this bungalow to be a 6-story building. But for now, what I want to just do is just a bungalow. And that makes a lot of sense. But you can do that and plan ahead. However, based on that, you may not exactly what actually determines the foundation type, whether bungalow or a story building or whatever building you are talking about, is the load-bearing capacity of the soil. I hope that's fine.
Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, one Richardson asked a question about roof gutter. What's the best material to be used for roof gutter? The one in my facility is aluminum and is always leaking after several repairs. Well, I would say that for me, most of the times, aluminum is not the best material to use for roof gutter. It's better to use PVC roof gutters, which come itself. It comes fully installed. It comes fully. That's the purpose, because it wouldn't corrode, and by the time it's properly sealed, you won't have areas where you easily just leak, except something really goes there to puncture it, which is very unlikely, especially when it comes to roof gutters, because it's up there and then you just move water from place to place. So I'll advise that you probably just use PVC material, or you use the regular. The design is what really determines the final finish or final use of the material for the roof gutter. You also have very good aluminum roof gutters that do not leak when it is properly installed. Sometimes a lot of these leakages happen from bad installation, and then we'll have issues. Okay, I think Julian's hand is up. Julian, let's hear you again. Juliana, please.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, sir. Sorry for my too many questions.
No problem.
Okay. Yeah, I've actually asked this question sometime when we started the lecture newly, but I think I'll get a better and clarifying answer here now. It's about the ceiling in my former place of work. So, in fact, it's like the ceiling keeps leaking, water keeps leaking every now and then. Yeah, we have like a 12-story building there. From the 12 to down, water leaks. So I don't know what it could be or how they can remedy that. Though I'm no more working there, but it's actually a problem.
Okay. If you're still working there, there are some questions I would have asked you. Now that you are not working there, the questions are probably.
No, you can ask me. I don't. If it's something I can answer. Okay.
You said the leakage comes from the 12th floor.
It's not only on the 12th floor. It can start from the breakouts. It can start in the reception. It can start in the CCA. Just all the building, all the floors.
All the floors. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And they keep changing ceiling all the time.
Okay, it's not just about, you see, because you change ceilings because you have not addressed the problem. Well, yes. Normally what I would normally do first, and I always advise, is that once you have issue of leakage, the first culprit is that you go and check all the plumbing supply pipes from where you have toilets and kitchenettes. You first of all start isolating them one after the other. You know, a building.
Sorry, excuse me, sir. I think the leakage is coming is because of the HVAC actually. But then how can they now, solve the problem of the ceiling, because they keep changing the ceiling and all that?
Oh, the leakage is coming from the HVAC.
Yes, because they keep looking for it, but they can't find it.
They keep looking for what?
Problem is coming. Looking for where the problem is coming from.
the leakage is coming from? If you have just said it's coming from the HVAC.
Yes, but it just spreads.
Wait now, calm down, madam.
Okay. All right, sir.
These things normally happen. I'm
Okay.
just giving you the step. It's not just because of the question. I'm trying to answer so that every other person gains from this discussion.
All right,
Like I
sir.
said,
Thank you.
You first of all check all the water areas. The supply pipes are the first culprit. Once you isolate those ones that they are not leaking, you go to the next step. Check the electrical conduit pipes and find out that any water is not going into it. Sometimes water goes into conduit pipes, and once it goes there, you will never be able to track where the leakage is coming from. Electrical conduit pipes.
Okay.
You have to isolate that. Now, the third one is what you have mentioned, which is the condensate pipes, the HVAC. HVAC sometimes comes with its own condensate pipe. Once you have identified it's the HVAC that has a problem, what you just do is that you can, if they cannot trace the exact pipe that is leaking from, they have to rerun the condensate pipe that takes the water out. It's failing in a particular point, and sometimes even the AC itself, when it's HVAC, around the pipe itself, normally that's why you use armor flex to cover those pipes so that you don't have so much of condensate coming, because when it's cooling, once the cool air is going in, sometimes it sweats out, and once that sweats out is a lot, it will leak. It will start leaking and dripping water. Maybe that armor flex that they use to cover up those pipes, the gas pipes, are already failing, or probably you have leakage in those areas. So they need to also look at those ones and attend to it. When they do that, I am sure the leakage will stop before you start changing your ceiling or not changing ceiling.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Okay, I think Oluwa Yowa, are you still asking your question? Your hand is still up.
No, sorry, you've answered me.
Okay, I've answered you. Okay, great. So any other question? Okay, I can't see any other hand. Like I will always say, okay, Julian, again. Let's take your own quickly before I round up. Madam, Juliana, please, your question.
Okay, so how do we manage a sweating wall?
A sweating wall.
Yes,
normally, once you have a sweating wall, it's the same thing I just tried to explain that comes with the condensate. Once a room, inside a room is very cold and the outside of the room is warm, and that coolness in that room is sustained for a long time, very soon the wall will start sweating on the other side.
Okay.
What you probably need to do is that either you shut down the AC air conditioning system inside that room for a while, and if it's a room that you cannot shut down, you may need to provide what we call environmental monitoring system, which is, if these things normally happen, that AC is supposed to have what we call thermostat. Once it gets to the required temperature, the thermostat will go off, and the AC will circulate and take away the air. That's why you don't have it in most of our houses. The thermostats are still very okay. It's when the thermostat is bad, the AC will just keep cooling continuously without it cutting off. It's also not good for the air conditioning system. That's when you have sweating wall. And sometimes if the other side of the building itself does not have proper ventilation to dry out that wall so that it interacts with the element, if it's not an external wall, and there's an internal wall, that internal area, you may need to provide an air conditioning system in that area so that you can be able to maintain the temperature level between the two walls. And once you do that, the sweating of the wall will stop.
Fine. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes, madam. Any other question? Okay, there are no questions. If once you read your materials and you think you have one or two things that you want to still ask, you can just send it to the secretariat or forward it to me, and I'll answer the questions and as much as I can and send to you your answers so that the class can gain from it. I trust that we have gained one or two things in today's class. It's my pleasure to be here. So I've taken this class. I thank you for the questions, and it was quite interactive. I always like when my classes are interactive, and I hope you have learned one or two things. Thank you very much for your time, and do have a good evening. God bless you.
Amen. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you
sir.
very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Night.
Yeah, good night, everybody.
Good
Good night,
night. Good
sir.
night.
Bye.